I wasn't expecting Caitlin Clark to be coming back this early, but ESPN put out an article earlier this week kind of summing up. They was predicting Caitlin Clark to be back by August the 12th. Now, this just came out of the pipeline.
The basketball world wasn't supposed to get Caitlin Clark back this early. Even ESPN just a few days ago was projecting her return somewhere around August 12th. The Indiana Fever's front office hadn't offered much clarity, keeping everything under wraps, forcing fans, media, and the league itself to operate in a fog of uncertainty. Then out of nowhere, the update dropped, a tidal wave of news shaking the foundation of women's basketball.
Effing Clark is a game-time decision. She is a game-time decision. She is, as far as I'm aware, someone said she's listed as questionable on the app.
Caitlin Clark, the golden goose of the WNBA, the athlete who isn't just a star, but the very oxygen of the league, has been upgraded to a game-time decision. That's right. After weeks of rehab, speculation, and declining ratings, Clark is suddenly one step away from stepping back onto the hardwood. And make no mistake about it, this isn't just a player returning from an injury. This is the resurrection of the league's heartbeat. Clark isn't just a player. She is the WNBA's brand, its audience magnet, its lifeline. Without her, the numbers are brutal. With her, the league flourishes like never before. When she plays, entire arenas overflow, television networks feast on ratings, and even casual sports fans who have never cared about women's basketball suddenly tune in. When she doesn't play, the silence is deafening. That's why this moment is so much bigger than just basketball. It's about survival.
And that will leave a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games left to get ready for the playoff run. Right now, you're looking at the Atlanta Dream or...
Consider this. Before her groin injury in mid-July, Indiana Fever games were averaging an almost incomprehensible 1.81 million viewers. That's not playoff basketball. That's not a finals matchup. That's regular season Fever basketball because Caitlin Clark was on the court. The moment she was sidelined, those same numbers collapsed to 847,000. That's a 53% free fall in viewership, the kind of catastrophic drop that should terrify executives, sponsors, and every single player cashing a WNBA paycheck. It's not just Indiana Fever games either. National WNBA viewership across all teams, all games, plummeted by 55% during Clark's absence. Half the audience evaporated. Not because the product changed, not because the storylines disappeared, but because Caitlin Clark wasn't there. This isn't just star power, it's economic dependency. It's the kind of leverage that makes her bigger than the sport itself. Think about how absurd this is. Patrick Mahomes isn't that important to the NFL. LeBron James, Steph Curry, not even Michael Jordan in his prime meant this much to the NBA. Their leagues were bigger than them. But the WNBA is not bigger than Caitlin Clark. She is the league's singular anchor. Without her, the ship doesn't just drift, it sinks. And yet, here she is, potentially on the verge of walking back onto that court with 11 games left before the playoffs, 11 opportunities to shift the balance of the postseason race.
This intelligently. No one person means as much to their league, whatever league it is, as Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA. And no person has done more for their league than what Caitlin Clark has done for the WNBA. Patrick Mahomes...
11 games to remind everyone why she's the most important athlete in women's basketball history. Look at the playoff picture right now. The Fever could realistically find themselves matched against Atlanta or Phoenix, both loaded with intrigue and narrative. That's where Clark's presence doesn't just change the Fever's odds of winning, it changes the financial stakes for the entire league. Ticket prices tell the story in the clearest way. When Clark plays, average Fever ticket prices soar to $137. Without her, they crash to $80. The rivalry game against Chicago Sky was supposed to be one of the hottest tickets of the summer, averaging $86 a seat. Once Clark was ruled out, those same tickets dropped to a humiliating $25. That's a 71% collapse, proof that the Caitlin Clark effect isn't just about TV ratings, it's about cold, hard cash. The Washington Mystics even tried to relocate their game against the Fever to Baltimore, anticipating a flood of Clark-driven demand.
Does not mean that much to the NFL. Steph Curry does not mean that much to the NBA. LeBron James does not mean that much to the NBA. She is a monster. When we look back on this, Caitlin Clark will be for the WNBA what Magic Johnson.
But when she couldn't suit up, the get-in price bottomed out at $14. Teams are literally rearranging their business operations around Clark's availability, and the moment she's absent, they bleed money. And let's not forget Angel Reese's infamous comments, claiming that fans don't just tune in for Clark, that people also watch for her. Hate to say it, but the numbers don't lie. When Clark doesn't play, the world tunes out. It's that simple. Sports economists have tried to quantify Clark's impact, and the results are staggering. Ryan Brewer projected that her presence could drive $1 billion in economic impact this season alone. $1 billion from a single rookie, a number that includes everything from ticket sales to tourism to merchandise. She alone is valued at $340 million to the Indiana Fever franchise, instantly transforming them from an afterthought to the league's crown jewel. The ripple effects touch every corner of the league. Attendance at Fever games has jumped to an average of over 17,000 per night, outdrawing the Indiana Pacers in their own city. League-wide merchandise sales have exploded, with Dick's Sporting Goods reporting a 233% jump and Fanatics recording a 500% surge.
You can't tell me that the Caitlin Clark effect isn't real. You knew when news broke yesterday that Caitlin Clark was going to be out for a few weeks, that ticket prices were going to go down, but I never expected them to go down 71% for the rivalry.
Caitlin Clark's return isn't just about putting on a Fever jersey again. It's about walking into an arena where every eye, every broadcast camera, every social media feed is fixated on her. This isn't just another athlete making a comeback. This is the most important player in women's basketball history, stepping back into a league that has tethered its survival to her existence. And with that comes pressure that even legends of the game never had to face. Think about what her comeback game means. The last time she came back from injury, it was against the New York Liberty on June 14th. The Fever were heavy underdogs, but Clark delivered one of the most electrifying performances of the year. 32 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds, nearly notching a triple-double in a statement victory that handed New York their first loss of the season. That single game drew, too. 8 million viewers, becoming ESPN's third most watched WNBA broadcast ever. To put that into perspective, more people tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark play on a random June afternoon than some NBA playoff games featuring household names. That's the gravitational pull she has. Now imagine what's about to happen when she comes back again.
That I thought of when I saw this was a quote that we got last year from Angel Reese when she was talking about how people don't just watch the WNBA for Caitlin. They watch it because of her as well. Hate to say it, those numbers...
Expect pandemonium, expect chaos, expect this to be one of the most watched regular season games in league history. ABC's coverage of her games has already produced viewership peaks north of 5 million, rivaling the audience for finals games. When the Fever faced Dallas earlier this year, the game averaged 2.1 million viewers, peaking at 5 million, making it the fourth most watched WNBA game ever televised. Not finals, not playoff elimination, just regular season Caitlin Clark basketball. That's what her name commands. But here's the catch. Every other player in the league knows it too. They know that when Clark plays, their salaries, their endorsement potential, even their relevance increases. And when she's gone, the spotlight dims dramatically. That realization has created an uncomfortable undercurrent throughout the WNBA. Players know the growth of the league isn't being spread evenly. It's not collective progress. It's the Caitlin Clark effect. Without her, everything crumbles. So what happens when she gets hurt again? What happens when she retires? That's the nightmare scenario league executives whisper about in boardrooms. They've built the house of cards, and Clark is the one card holding the entire structure upright. That's why this return matters so much. Not just for the Fever, not just for the fans, but for the entire ecosystem of the WNBA. The Fever right now are sitting at 18-14, clinging to a playoff berth, but still searching for a definitive identity.
Sky tickets dropped 71% on TickPick after Caitlin Clark injury. The get-in price for the Chicago Sky versus Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever game was $86. After Caitlin Clark's injury announcement is now down to $25.
Yes, Kelsey Mitchell has been phenomenal. Yes, Aaliyah Boston has played like an MVP candidate at times. And yes, the bench has held up admirably despite devastating injuries. But this team isn't built to survive without Clark. They are built to dominate with her. Coach Stephanie White understands it better than anyone. That's why the front office surrounded Clark with veterans like Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and Dana Bonner. They aren't building for 3 years from now. They're building for right now. Because in the WNBA, the championship window doesn't stay open long, and Caitlin Clark is the player that keeps it from slamming shut. Now, think about the larger picture. ESPN is salivating at the idea of her return. Networks are fighting for airtime to broadcast her games because the numbers speak for themselves. Games featuring Clark average 3 million viewers across ESPN platforms, up 7% from already strong numbers. 21 of the 24 games that drew more than 1 million viewers last season had Clark in them, the league's new $2 billion media rights deal, set to begin in 2026, will have Clark's fingerprints all over it. NBC and ESPN aren't just investing in the WNBA, they're investing in Caitlin Clark. Without her, that deal doesn't look nearly as valuable. That's why her return isn't just about basketball. It's about proving that the billion-dollar projections are real, that the Caitlin Clark business model is sustainable. Teams across the league are literally moving games to bigger venues to prepare for her. The Dream, the Sun, the Wings, the Aces, the Mystics, the Sky, they've all shifted home games against Indiana to larger arenas, knowing Clark's presence will sell tickets by the thousands.
Verge of seeing Caitlin Clark become bigger than the sport herself. WNBA viewing attendance is up over 200% since she joined the league. The Indiana Fever actually are outselling the Pacers, averaging over 17,000 attendance per game.
When the Fever played a preseason game in Iowa, ticket resale prices reached over $1,750. That wasn't an NBA Finals. That wasn't a championship. That was a Caitlin Clark preseason game. Wrap your head around that. Even NBA superstars like LeBron James have acknowledged what's happening. He's posted about the CC effect, recognizing that what Clark is doing transcends women's basketball and enters rare air alongside cultural icons like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. We are witnessing the rise of someone who isn't just dominating her sport, she's redefining.
In WNBA valuation, based on Caitlin Clark alone, $1 billion. Now, this is up about 25% from the total economic value. Crazy to see these kind of numbers. I think we're on the verge of seeing something like MJ Tiger